After enduring prolonged bullying, I finally couldn't take it anymore and decided to end my life. On the night I made that decision, I sat on the rooftop, reflecting on the reasons behind the torment I had faced.
It all started because I handed Jonathan Black a love letter. He looked at me with disdain, as if I were trash, and then had someone beat me up severely. Crystal Lee, who had a crush on him, pushed me off the third floor, breaking my leg. With no money for hospital treatment, I was left with a permanent disability. I used to love dancing, but now I walk with a limp, looking utterly pathetic.
Yet they faced no consequences. When I reported them to Principal Jones, he merely gave them a symbolic reprimand, without any real punishment.
Sorry, Lily Chen, it was just a joke.
Immediately after, I was subjected to even more severe beatings. They dragged me to an abandoned equipment room, stripped me of my clothes, and beat me until there wasn't a single unbruised spot on my body. Crystal Lee burned me with a cigarette while taking photos, threatening me viciously.
You little wretch! If you dare report us again and cause trouble for Jonathan, I'll make sure you regret it.
One of the boys kicked me and spat on me, sneering.
Do you know half the buildings in this school were donated by Jonathan's family? Even the principal wouldn't dare raise his voice to him.
In this school, if you go against Jonathan, you're done for.
Jonathan stood in the shadows, like a demon, leisurely enjoying my suffering. I was locked up and tortured for 3 days before they finally let me go. When I showered, every inch of my body ached. Amidst the sound of running water, I broke down in tears, my body trembling with overwhelming sorrow and anger.
I didn't give in. I reached out to numerous online influencers, hoping to expose their crimes, but every message I sent disappeared into the void. Finally, a blogger named Oliver Zhou responded.
If your story is true, I will help you.
He wanted to verify my situation, so I arranged to meet him at school. When I handed him my phone, which contained secretly recorded videos of their bullying, a hand suddenly snatched it away. I turned to see Jonathan Black's cold, sinister face.
So, you thought you could expose us? How naive.
My blood seemed to freeze, and I couldn't move. Mike Short approached Oliver Zhou, putting an arm around his shoulder and speaking quietly. After a while, I saw Oliver Zhou smiling and waving at Jonathan and his group before walking away without a backward glance.
It's settled. What do we do with her?
I had a sinking feeling that my fate was sealed. When Principal Jones waved me out of his office, I was still in shock.
Expelled? Why am I being expelled? They were the ones bullying me. I just wanted justice. Why are they unscathed while I'm being expelled?
I have no choice. Jonathan said he doesn't want to see you at school anymore, or he'll withdraw all his family's funding. For the sake of the school, I have to sacrifice you. The expulsion notice has already been sent to your family. You need to leave today.
And just like that, my fate was sealed. After the overwhelming anger and sorrow subsided, I felt hollow, like a walking corpse. I packed my things and took the train back to my hometown. But what awaited me was the news of Grandma Smith's passing.
Your grandma fainted when she heard about your expulsion. She hit her head, and the doctors couldn't save her.
I rushed to the hospital and saw Grandma's body, covered with a white sheet, being wheeled into the morgue. I held her cold hand tightly, my body trembling uncontrollably, the taste of blood in my mouth.
Grandma. The grandma who raised me. The grandma who was so happy when I got into college that she couldn't sleep. The grandma who collected trash to pay for my tuition. I hadn't even had the chance to repay her for all she had done for me. Grandma.
Memories flooded my mind, making me feel cold and full of pain. It was as if an invisible beast was tearing at my body in the night wind. I closed my eyes and leaped from the tall building. The wind roared in my ears, slicing my body into pieces, while my soul seemed to be carried away into the distance. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a white hospital room.
Miss is awake. She's awake. I'll go tell the master.
She disappeared in a flash, and soon the room was filled with people. Leading them was a well-dressed middle-aged man who, upon seeing me, teared up and hugged me, crying.
Emily, my dear Emily, you're finally awake.
It wasn't until I was taken home by this large group that I realized what had happened. I had been reborn. My new identity was Emily Woods, the only daughter of the wealthy Woods Lumber Company. She had been in a vegetative state for over a year due to a car accident. Somehow, my soul had entered her body, bringing her back to life. Looking in the mirror, I saw that this body had an exquisitely beautiful face, almost bewitching. When not smiling, it had a serene, deep pool-like tranquility. The most unforgettable feature was the eyes, which seemed to hold the brilliance of the entire galaxy. This face was truly a powerful weapon. A plan for revenge began to take shape in my mind. I hadn't forgotten those who had driven me to such despair. Back then, I was alone and helpless, treated like a dog by them, which ultimately led to Grandma Smith's demise. This immense hatred had to be avenged.
Emily, do you want to go abroad to continue your studies?
No, I want to transfer to B University, my school from my previous life.
Now that he had regained me, he doted on me immensely and quickly agreed. He even bought a villa near B University, complete with a butler, servants, and security to ensure I could enjoy the highest standard of living.
This is our new transfer student, Emily Woods. Everyone, please get along well.
I'm new here, so if I do anything wrong, please bear with me.
As expected, I heard gasps and whispers from the students.
Wow, she's so beautiful.
She looks prettier than a celebrity.
Oh my, a real-life fairy.
Among the excited crowd, one figure stood out. Jonathan Black sat by the window, glancing at me with a mix of indifference and natural elegance, like a pine tree in the snow, making hearts flutter. In my previous life, I had been captivated by this appearance, only to be thrown into an inescapable whirlpool of despair. At 8 in the morning, I stood at the entrance of a residential area, holding a steaming breakfast. I had gathered information on Jonathan Black. His father was a minister, and his mother was the chairwoman of Tian High Group. With both wealth and power, he was truly a favored child of the heavens. No wonder he could trample on someone like me in my past life. He had opposed his parents' plan to send him abroad and insisted on attending B University. I sneered. He seemed to cut ties with his parents but skillfully used their power to get away with anything. He didn't stay in the school dormitory but bought a house in a nearby neighborhood. The very place where I was now standing.
Good morning, Jonathan.
Emily, what are you doing here?
I saw you here yesterday when I was passing by, so I guessed you lived here. So I came today to wait for you and go to school together. I brought you breakfast.
He didn't take it, just glanced at it coldly and turned to leave. This was better than I expected. I thought he might pour the hot porridge on me and tell me to stay away. I touched my face. Well, no matter how heartless someone is, they wouldn't want to harm such a beautiful face. For now, it seemed my plan was feasible. I started waiting for him every morning, following him like a little tail, picking him up and dropping him off at school, constantly finding topics to chat about. Initially, he ignored me, but gradually, he began to respond to my trivial comments.
The sun is so bright.
Not seriously.
He also started eating the breakfast I brought, sometimes even requesting specific items for the next day. So I began instructing the chef to deliberately make the food taste bad, like overcooking the porridge, burning the bread, or adding a large spoonful of salt to the sweet soup. He seemed puzzled by the rapid decline in my cooking skills.
The previous meals were made by the chef, but now I am cooking myself, so there is a slight difference in taste.
He seemed to have some objections to the word slight, but he always finished the food with a blank expression. Sometimes I wondered if he had lost his sense of taste. But this also showed that his tolerance for me was increasing. One day, I deliberately arrived half an hour late. As I had anticipated, he didn't leave on his own but waited at the entrance, frequently checking his watch, looking somewhat bewildered and anxious.
Did you do this on purpose?
Were you waiting for me? I misjudged the baking time today, so I was late.
Hearing this, his cold eyes softened. He took the cookies, glanced at the burnt pieces, and his lips curled slightly.
Chef Emily, you really know how to surprise people.
The philosophy class was attended by all 4 sections of the department. It was there that I first encountered Crystal Li after my rebirth. She saw Jonathan Black and happily walked over to sit beside him, chattering away like a fly that had found something interesting. I observed for a moment at the door before walking in and said to Crystal Li,
"Excuse me, but you're sitting in my seat."
Crystal Li looked me up and down with a sinister expression and let out a disdainful laugh. That expression still sent a shiver down my spine, reminding me of the nightmares I had in my past life. I forced myself to remain calm and stared back at her. Just as Crystal Li was about to speak, Jonathan Black interrupted.
She sits here.
Crystal Li smiled smugly and said,
"Did you hear that? Now get lost."
Didn't you hear? Get lost.
The surrounding students who noticed this exchange couldn't help but snicker. Crystal Li's face turned pale, and she bit her lip as she slowly moved out of the seat. During the break, Crystal Li came over to chat with me, this time putting on a facade of friendliness while subtly probing about my family background.
"So, where do you come from?"
"I come from an ordinary family. My parents are laborers."
Upon hearing this, she glanced at my branded bag with disdain.
"Then this bag of yours must be a fake, right? No wonder it looks so cheap."
"Have you carried too many fakes? Can't you tell the difference?"
Crystal Li stood up abruptly, seemingly wanting to hit me but restrained herself because of Jonathan Black. She then sneered.
"Your poor parents could afford this bag? Did you sell yourself to get it?"
Before I could respond, Jonathan Black suddenly smashed a cup, the loud bang silencing the classroom. All eyes turned to Crystal Li.
If you can't speak properly, then keep your mouth shut.
Crystal Li's face turned red with embarrassment. She wanted to defend herself but didn't dare to speak, standing there awkwardly. Mike Short, a boy with a buzz cut, walked over.
Let's not get too worked up. Class is about to start. Crystal, let's go back to our seats.
Crystal Li glared at me with resentment. Just as she was about to turn away, I handed her a bag of burnt cookies.
"I'm sorry, Jonathan is in a bad mood today. I baked these cookies for you. Please don't be mad at him."
Crystal Li went berserk, throwing the cookies away and shouting.
"You be asterisk 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 asterisk, even dogs wouldn't eat this trash."
I chuckled inwardly but put on a scared and aggrieved expression.
Get out!
Jack Spencer knew Jonathan Black was really angry and tried to pull Crystal Li away. Jonathan Black emphasized again.
I said, get out.
Both of them were stunned by the implication of his words. Jack Spencer moved his lips but ultimately returned to his seat without a word. Crystal Li looked at Jonathan Black in disbelief. He stared back at her with cold eyes.
I don't want to repeat myself.
In the awkward silence, the whole class watched as Crystal Li slowly got down on the floor and, with stiff movements, rolled out of the classroom like a log. The scene was so ridiculous that the classroom erupted in laughter, filling the air with a sense of joy. I saw Crystal Li outside the classroom, her eyes red, her face dirty with tears and dust. She glared at me with a twisted expression. I gave her an innocent smile in return. After a day of classes, I habitually followed Jonathan Black, acting as his protector on the way home. On the way, a boy called out to me. I turned around and saw it was Ethan Carter, the class president.
Emily Woods, are you free on Saturday? Can I invite you to a movie?
He held 2 movie tickets in his hand, his usually fair and delicate face now as red as an apple. He handed me one of the tickets.
Sure, I've been wanting to see this movie.
Great. I'll see you at Star C Cinema at 4 p.m. on Saturday.
I nodded and watched him leave, then glanced at the movie ticket.
Why did you agree to go with him?
I turned to observe his expression. His brows were slightly furrowed, and he was staring straight at me with his head slightly lowered.
Because I haven't seen a movie in a long time. Why not go if someone invites me?
Besides, the class president is a nice guy.
I watched his stiff face and added fuel to the fire at the right moment. Jonathan Black stared at me for about 6 seconds, then nonchalantly looked away and continued walking. This surprised me. In my view, Jonathan Black was a possessive person. He should have some feelings for me, so why would he allow me to go on a date with the class president? This doubt left me feeling uncertain. The next day, when I arrived at the cinema and saw Jonathan Black standing there, I was genuinely stunned.
Why are you here? Where's the class president?
He handed me a new movie ticket, ignoring my second question.
I'm here to watch the movie with you.
A bad suspicion formed in my mind. I feared he might have done something to the class president. After all, someone like him could do anything. I grabbed him forcefully and asked sternly.
Where's the class president? What did you do to him?
He looked down at me, his deep eyes revealing no emotion, and his lowered voice seemed tinged with anger.
Do you care about him that much?
I paused, calming down. Seeing his terrifyingly dark face, I realized that if I didn't answer well, the class president might get into trouble because of me. I let go of his coat and tried to appease him by shaking his hand.
I only care about you. I just didn't want to break my promise. Let me tell the class president first, and then I'll watch the movie with you.
He snorted coldly, grabbed my hand, and led me directly to the ticket booth.
No need to tell him. I already sent him away.
Relieved that the class president was safe, I also gained a deeper understanding of Jonathan Black's domineering nature. The movie's plot was dull, a cliched love story, but the chemistry between the leads was undeniable. Watching them kiss on the big screen made me blush, and I turned away awkwardly, only to find Jonathan Black staring at me.
Emily Woods, do you know how to kiss?
The skin near my ear seemed to tingle, and my heart raced uncontrollably. Feeling uneasy, I lowered my head, neither watching the movie nor responding to him. But the atmosphere was good, and I should seize this opportunity. After a while, I placed my hand on the armrest, pretending to accidentally brush against his hand. He seemed to have been waiting for this moment. In an instant, he grabbed my hand tightly, with a hint of dampness. I initially thought that after my confrontation with Crystal Li, she would quickly come after me. But several days passed without any sign of her. Just as I was contemplating whether to approach her myself, I saw her.
There she was, in the girls' restroom, with a few other girls forming a circle around a girl whose clothes were soaked. Crystal Li was forcing a lit cigarette into the girl's mouth and then shoving her head into the toilet. The other girls were kicking her and cursing.
You filthy girl. Who are you trying to seduce?
Seeing the girl crying and trembling, begging for mercy, my mind buzzed, and I saw myself in a past life, subjected to their torment. These bullies deserved to be stopped.
You wretches!
I grabbed a mop, dipped it into a malfunctioning toilet, and the mop head was instantly covered in filth. I swung the mop at them. The girls were instantly smeared with the foul substance, screaming in horror.
What the?
In the chaos, Crystal Li opened her mouth in shock, and I took the opportunity to shove the mop head into her mouth. Then I pulled the bullied girl out and kicked the others into the stall, locking the door behind them. We ran, leaving their screams and curses far behind us. The feeling of running away was exhilarating.
Are you okay?
Yes, thank you for saving me.
You're welcome. My name is Emily Woods.
I'm Sophia Blake.
Then, as if remembering something, her expression turned somber again.
I should go now. Goodbye.
Are you worried they'll continue to bully you?
You can save me once, but not forever. Crystal Li's dad owns Fongjing Real Estate, so she acts with impunity. The teachers don't dare to intervene, and the police just brush it off.
Tears fell from her eyes, like a flower about to wither.
I really don't know what to do.
Don't worry, I won't let them get away with it anymore.
I won't let them push anyone to the brink again. The rain gently tapped against the window, pulling me from a restless dream. I sat up, staring at the misty world outside, my heart heavy with memories of Grandma Smith. Her face, etched with worry, haunted my sleep.
Live well, my dear. Your happiness is what matters most. I'll always watch over you from above.
Tears streamed down my face. I clutched a bouquet of white daisies as I made my way to the cemetery under an umbrella. Since my rebirth, I had bought a plot for Grandma Smith and erected an empty tombstone to honor her memory. Walking through the cemetery, I noticed a boy in black, soaked and shivering beside a tombstone. His forlorn figure drew me closer, and I was stunned to recognize him.
What are you doing here?
I reached out, feeling his forehead. You have a fever.
Stay with me for a while.
I'm here to visit my grandma. What about you?
My mom.
His mother was supposed to be alive. But he continued, his voice trembling.
This is my biological mother. She was driven to despair by my dad and his mistress. They made her life unbearable, and she couldn't take it anymore. My grandfather covered it up to avoid bad publicity, erasing her existence. This is her hometown. I erected a tombstone for her here. I'm the only one who visits.
I listened, my heart aching for him.
She was so naive, so easily deceived. She should have fought back, but she was too gentle. Still, she loved me dearly. Just like you.
She was the person I loved most in this world.
So, you're lonely too. From now on, stay with me, and I'll stay with you. Okay?
I slowly nodded, and in the gentle rain, he leaned in, kissing me tenderly. While reading in the library, I received a call from Sophia Blake. Her voice was urgent and weak.
Emily, help me. They've captured me.
Then I heard Crystal Li's voice on the phone.
She's in the abandoned equipment room in the gym. Emily Woods, don't you love playing the hero? Come save her, haha.
Her laugh was sharp and piercing. My body trembled as I clenched my fists and ran out of the library. When I reached the equipment room, 2 boys rushed out, covering my mouth and dragging me inside, throwing me to the ground. Before I could see my surroundings, I was slapped several times, my cheeks instantly numbing with pain.
You wretch, if you can walk out of here alive today, consider yourself lucky. Hit her.
As soon as she finished speaking, punches and kicks rained down on me. Someone kicked me hard, sending my body flying. I felt like my insides had shifted, and I vomited a mouthful of blood-tinged bile.
Emily, are you okay?
Sophia, trembling and unclothed, hugged me and cried incessantly. Her pale body was covered in bruises, clearly having been tormented as well. I shook my head to comfort her and gave her my jacket.
You still care about others at a time like this? Haha, looks like we didn't hit you hard enough. Strip her too.
I struggled desperately, but it only led to more brutal beatings. My head was slammed to the ground by my hair, and I felt a warm stream trickle down from my forehead. In the end, my clothes were stripped off, and I was thrown to the ground like a lifeless fish. Crystal Li had a large basin of foul-smelling water placed in front of us.
Drink this filthy water, and I'll let you go. Otherwise, you might not make it through the night. I don't mind getting rid of a few little ants. My dad can settle this with a flick of his finger. As for you, without a powerful dad, you shouldn't be out here making enemies. Your dads can only collect your bodies.
Sophia seemed provoked by her words and suddenly lunged at Crystal Li with a knife she had picked up from somewhere, engaging in a struggle. Fearing for Sophia, I grabbed a baseball bat and swung it at the others. In the chaos, Crystal Li seized the knife and aimed it at Sophia. My mind went blank and I shielded Sophia. The knife plunged into my abdomen and blood gushed out. The pain was excruciating. Crystal Li, panicked, let go of the knife. The door was kicked open. Before I lost consciousness, I saw Jonathan Black's shocked and pained face. At the hospital, I saw Dad rushing in. His eyes reddened instantly upon seeing my condition, his body shaking as he cried.
Sweetheart, I failed to protect you again.
A pang of guilt hit me. I felt so sorry for him. I had taken over his daughter's body but hadn't fulfilled her duties, instead bringing him so much pain.
Dad, it doesn't hurt anymore.
Michael Green walked in and handed Dad some documents.
Mr. Woods, these are the background details of that bully, Crystal Li. It turns out her father is John Li from Fongjing Real Estate.
Dad looked at the documents, his face turning cold and stern. He clenched his jaw.
John Li? A mere real estate dealer dares to touch my daughter. Follow through with all the necessary business procedures. Their cash flow should be tight right now, right? I want Fongjing Real Estate bankrupt.
He threw the documents at Michael Green's feet. Michael acknowledged and left with the documents. Dad gently touched my face, full of love and concern, a stark contrast to his earlier cold demeanor.
Sweetheart, focus on recovering. Crystal Li and those bullies are already in custody. Dad will make sure they pay for what they've done.
I forced a smile and nodded weakly. After Dad left, Sophia Blake came in. She was also in this hospital, but her injuries weren't as severe as mine, and she could already walk. She looked at me, her eyes welling up with tears.
I'm sorry, Emily.
Why are you apologizing? Wasn't this all part of our plan from the beginning?
Yes, everything was meticulously planned by Sophia and me to bring down Crystal Li completely. That day, I saved Sophia, and she insisted on helping me with my revenge plan. So we orchestrated everything. Jonathan Black usually stayed with me, making Crystal hesitant to act against me. During this time, Sophia stayed at my place, avoiding classes to hide from Crystal. Unable to find anyone to vent her anger on for days, Crystal's fury only grew. That day, Sophia deliberately provoked Crystal and then pretended to flee in panic to the abandoned equipment room, where I had already set up hidden cameras. The bullying was all recorded, becoming undeniable evidence. But if the victim were an ordinary person, even with evidence, it might not have been enough to bring down Crystal Li. However, in this life, I was different. My father, Mr. Woods, was the head of Woods Lumber, controlling nearly half of the country's timber business. Such a background was not something Crystal's father could afford to offend.
So, according to our plan, Sophia pretended to be scared and followed Crystal's threats, calling me to lure me to the equipment room. I had to willingly become the victim, and then use Woods Lumber's power to crush Crystal Li in one fell swoop.
Dad's words just now confirmed it. Crystal Li was truly finished this time. I hadn't expected to be so severely injured, though. The doctor said if the wound had been just a bit deeper, it would have pierced my heart. I guess I was lucky. Yes, I was indeed fortunate. I had been given a second chance at life, and I didn't waste it. I had successfully put Crystal Li and those who had tormented me in my past life behind bars. As for Jonathan Black, I opened my eyes from a dream and met a pair of gentle eyes. Jonathan Black touched my forehead and softly asked,
"Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere?"
I shook my head, signaling that I wanted water. He helped me up, poured a glass, tested the temperature, and then slowly fed it to me. After I finished drinking, he kissed my cheek and then said,
"Crystal Li has taken a life before."
I froze and looked at him.
Back then, I helped her destroy the evidence, but I always kept a copy. I handed it over to the police chief and made sure justice would be served for the victim.
He pulled the corners of his mouth into a smile that didn't reach his eyes.
She'll get at least 20 years.
20 years, more than I had imagined. Crystal Li's life was essentially ruined. I couldn't help but ask,
"Why did you help her cover it up before?"
Wouldn't that person have died unjustly if it weren't for me? He tucked me in, his tone calm but the content shocking.
I didn't care about that person back then. She begged me, so I helped. But you are different. Thinking about what she did to you, I even wanted to end her life.
I shivered at his coldness. In my past life, I had died under such coldness. Jonathan Black seemed to remember something and, with interest, opened his laptop.
Let me show you something entertaining. It should help you vent.
The screen showed footage from a prison. Crystal Li, in a dirty and disheveled prison uniform, was being beaten by several tall female inmates. She knelt on the ground, continuously kowtowing, tears and snot streaming down her face.
Please, stop hitting me.
But her cries only excited them more, and the blows came harder. Jonathan Black held me.
I've arranged for her to be well taken care of. She won't have a good life for the rest of her days.
His embrace tightened suddenly, as if he was in some kind of pain, his breathing becoming rapid.
I can't imagine if I hadn't found you in the library that day, if I hadn't specifically gone to look for you. If I hadn't opened that door in time.
He trembled uncontrollably. I hugged him back, but my heart was cold. Jonathan Black, it seems you really love me now. So easily, my plan is about to succeed. On the day I was discharged, Crystal Li was sentenced to 20 years in prison. The quick sentencing was clearly the result of my dad and Jonathan Black's influence. Fongjing Real Estate also went bankrupt. I saw her father run to the hospital, kneel before my dad, and beg for mercy, only to be ruthlessly dragged away. Coincidentally, that day was also Jonathan Black's birthday. He wanted to spend the whole day with me at home, but I refused. I said it was the first birthday I was spending with him and wanted it to be special.
Where do you want to go?
I thought for a moment and named a place.
Star Mountain. I heard the night view from the mountain is beautiful, with the lights of thousands of homes looking like a river of stars. That's why it's called Star Mountain. Let's go there.
All right.
Jonathan Black drove me up the winding mountain road to the top. The mountain breeze blew in layers, and in the distance, I could see a vast expanse of blue sea shimmering with tiny sparkles. The view from the top was truly breathtaking. I sat on a stone platform, lost in the scenery.
What are you thinking about?
He draped a coat over my shoulders. I curled my lips slightly.
I was wondering, if I weren't Emily Woods, would you still love me?
You are you, whether you're Emily Woods or someone else. I love you for who you are.
Really?
No one knows the answer better than I do. As night fell, the evening breeze was gentle, and the lights twinkled like stars. I lit the candles on the cake and looked at Jonathan.
Make a wish.
Jonathan lowered his eyes to me, his clear eyes shining like the brightest stars in the sky.
All my wishes are for you.
I stared into those eyes, filled with tenderness, and said slowly,
Then my wish is, for you to suffer.
Jonathan was visibly stunned. His face changed colors, and he asked in disbelief.
What?
Jonathan, I wish for you to suffer.
He looked at me, his lips trembling, his face turning pale.
Who forced you to say this?
No one forced me. This is my heartfelt wish.
I threw the cake away, looking at him with disdain.
From the beginning, I approached you with a purpose, to make you fall in love with me. And then, when you loved me the most, I would stab you in the heart. That way, you would feel the same pain I did, losing the one you love the most.
The cold wind blew against his white clothes, and tears silently rolled down his cheeks. His lips moved, but no sound came out. Yet, I knew he was asking why.
You said you would love me no matter who I am? That's a lie. Do you remember Winter Chen?
Was she your friend? Are you here to avenge her?
I am Winter Chen.
He was confused.
Do you know? You forced me to drop out of school, which led to my grandma's passing. In utter despair, I jumped off a building. But unexpectedly, I was reborn in Emily Wood's body. Even the heavens didn't want me to leave in such a humiliating way. They gave me another chance to live, to exact my revenge on you. If you love me for who I am, then the Winter Chin from my past life was destroyed by you. How does it feel to harm the one you love the most?
Jonathan took 2 steps back, shaking his head continuously, seemingly unable to accept everything I said. It didn't matter anymore. My goal was achieved. I couldn't shake his family, but I could break his heart. This was my plan from the beginning, my custom-made revenge for Jonathan Black. I turned to leave, but Jonathan suddenly reacted. He rushed forward and hugged me tightly.
No. No. I'm sorry, Emily, no, Winter, I'm sorry.
His voice was broken and desperate, but my heart was filled with cold hatred.
I really did wrong. Please forgive me. You've had your revenge. Are you satisfied now? Please don't leave.
I never expected Jonathan to humble himself to this extent. The once aloof Jonathan, who seemed to look down on everything, was now so submissive. I broke free from his embrace, my words colder than the night wind.
You haven't lost anything. How could I be satisfied? Can you bring my grandma back? Can you end your life? Every time I see your face, I think of my innocent grandma's death and how you trampled on me like an ant in my past life. Just go away. Only then can I truly be satisfied.
I cried out loud, finally releasing all the bitterness and anger I had held inside. Jonathan's hands trembled as if he wanted to touch my face, but in the end, he just lowered them and gave me a sorrowful smile.
Fine, I'll grant your wish.
Before I could react to his words, he had already walked to the edge of the cliff. He turned back and gave me a desperate smile, then jumped without a moment's hesitation. My breath stopped. I ran to the edge of the cliff, but below was a dark abyss, like the mouth of a demon. The fierce mountain wind roared up like a wild beast.
Jonathan!
I screamed into the darkness, but there was no response. I collapsed on the spot, my thoughts in chaos, feeling as if a knife was twisting my insides. The pain was so intense I couldn't make a sound.
Grandma, I avenged you. I really did it. But did I do the right thing?
The mountain wind sounded like a long, drawn-out sigh. Sophia Blake suddenly stopped eating her cake and looked at me in surprise.
Are you leaving for abroad today?
I nodded, taking a sip of my milk tea.
Dad is worried about me staying here. Plus, he's been wanting to expand his business overseas, so we decided to immigrate.
She pouted, her face full of sorrow.
I finally made a friend, and now I'm going to be alone again.
I smiled and patted her head.
No one will bully you at school anymore. You're so sweet, lots of people will want to be your friend.
All right, but you'll always be my best friend. I'll write to you every day.
She pouted and stole glances at me.
What about you?
You'll always be my best friend too. I'll write to you every day.
I stuffed her mouth with cake, making her happy again. After saying a reluctant goodbye to Sophia at the cake shop, I drove to the hospital. I needed a final checkup before leaving the country to ensure my previous injuries had fully healed. After the checkup, I passed by the garden and saw Jonathan Black leaning on a crutch. Our eyes met, and we both froze. This was our first meeting since the incident at Star Mountain. The day after I descended, I saw a news report about hikers finding an unconscious Jonathan and rescuing him. He was incredibly lucky. He had fallen into a river below and was discovered in time, saving his life. But for me, everything had moved on. I looked at him, feeling no love or hate. Silently, I averted my gaze and turned to leave.
Can you sit with me for a while?
Sorry, I'm in a hurry.
His lips as pale as paper, pressed together as if enduring immense pain. After a moment, he spoke slowly.
You said I owed you a life. I've already been through a near-death experience. Can we call it even? Can we start over?
I smiled sadly, tears almost falling. I held back, wanting to say something, but my throat felt blocked, unable to make a sound. I looked at him, smiled with relief, and solemnly said goodbye. Without looking back, I turned and left. Maybe we would never see each other again in this lifetime. Maybe we would meet again years later. Maybe, it's all just maybe. No one knows what moves fate will make next. We can only wait. Wait for the mountain wind to blow across the sea, and we will love again.